Jake Morrison sat in his chair and stared at the screen. Numbers filled it from top to bottom. Each number meant someone who died in the war. Someone who would never go home. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked out the window at the stars. 3 years had passed since the Xerion War ended. 3 years since the last shot was fired. But Jake still felt like he was fighting. The memories would not leave him alone. The door opened with a soft sound. Lisa Barnes walked in carrying a tablet. She was the captain of communications on the station. Her face looked worried. "Jake, you need to see this," she said. She put the tablet on his desk. Jake picked it up and read the words on the screen. They were messages between alien ships, messages that human spies had caught and translated. "Stay away from human space," one message said. "My cousin went there last month. He has not been the same since." Another message made Jake frown. "The humans are not like us. They do something to your mind just by being near them." "What does this mean?" Jake asked Lisa. Lisa sat down across from him. "It means they are afraid of us now. Really afraid." Jake read more messages. Alien traders were refusing jobs that took them near Earth. Diplomatic ships were taking longer routes to avoid human territory. Some aliens were having bad dreams about humans. "This does not make sense," Jake said. "We won the war, but barely. We lost so many people. Half our colonies are gone. How can they be afraid of us?" Lisa pointed to another message on the screen. "Read this one." Jake read it out loud. "Do not speak the human name too loudly. They might hear you and come for you." Dr. Alex Carter knocked on the door. He was a scientist who studied alien behavior. His hair was gray now, much grayer than before the war. "I heard you were looking at the alien messages," Alex said as he walked in. "Alex, can you explain this to me?" Jake handed him the tablet. Alex read through the messages. His face got more serious with each one. "Jake, do you remember what we did during the war?" "Of course I remember. We fought to survive." "No," Alex said quietly. "We did more than fight. We became something else, something they had never seen before." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Earth looked peaceful from the station. Blue and white and beautiful. It was hard to believe what had happened here. "The Xerians thought we would give up," Alex continued. "When they attacked our colonies, they expected us to surrender. Every other species in the galaxy would have done that. But we did not surrender," Lisa said. "No, we did not. And that scared them more than any weapon we could have built." Jake remembered the early days of the war. The Xerians had better ships and better weapons. They were 12 different alien species working together. Humans were just one species, alone and outnumbered. "They called us violent," Jake said. "They said we were too dangerous for galactic society. And we proved them." "Right," Alex said, "but not in the way they expected." The first Xerian attack had destroyed 3 human colonies in one day. Millions of people died. The aliens sent a message to Earth afterward. It was simple. Surrender or face total destruction. Earth's leaders met for days. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to fight. In the end, they made a choice that changed everything. "If they think we are monsters," the president had said, "then we will show them what real monsters look like." Jake remembered watching that speech on the news. He was just a young officer then. He thought it was just brave words to help people feel better. He was wrong. "The war lasted 8 years, Jake said to Alex and Lisa. 8 long years of fighting." "Fighting is not the right word," Alex said. "What we did was something else, something new." Jake sat back down and looked at the alien messages again. One message caught his attention. It was from a Xerian commander to his family. "I served in the human war," the message said. "I cannot sleep anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I see their faces. They looked at us like death itself was just another problem to solve." "Alex, what did we become during the war?" Jake asked. Alex was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "We became what we needed to become to survive, and that terrified them." Lisa pulled up more messages on her tablet. "Look at this one." It is from an alien trader. Jake read it. I was offered a job to deliver supplies to the human border. The pay was good, very good, but I said no. My friend went there once. He said the humans looked at him like they were deciding the best way to kill him, even during a peaceful meeting. Are we really that scary now? Jake asked. To them, yes, Alex said. They expected us to fight like they fight, for territory, for resources, for pride. But we fought for something different. What did we fight for? Extinction, Alex said simply. We fought like our entire species would die if we lost, because it would have. And that kind of fighting, no other species in the galaxy had ever seen it before. Jake looked at Earth again through the window. It looked the same as always, but he knew it was different now. Humanity was different now. The aliens are staying away from us, Lisa said. Not because we are forcing them to, because they choose to. They are afraid, Alex said. Afraid of what we might do if we feel threatened again. Jake closed the tablet and stood up. The war was over, but its effects would last forever. Humanity had survived, but at a cost. They had become something that scared the entire galaxy. What happens now? Jake asked. Alex looked at him with sad eyes. Now we live with what we became. And they live with the fear of what we might become next. The stars outside looked cold and distant. Once humans had dreamed of joining the galactic community. Now that community was afraid to come near them. Jake Morrison sat back down in his chair. He had work to do, reports to read. But the alien messages stayed on his mind. In the quiet of his office, he wondered if winning the war had been worth becoming something that even their enemies feared to name. Colonel Ryan Murphy walked into the secure room deep inside Earth's military headquarters. The walls were thick and the door was heavy. No one could listen to what happened inside this room. He carried a box of old files that were marked, with red letters that said, Top Secret. Jake Morrison and Lisa Barnes sat at the table waiting for him. Dr. Alex Carter was there too. They all looked nervous. They knew what Ryan was about to show them would be hard to hear. You want to know what we did during the war, Ryan said. He put the box on the table. You want to know why the aliens are afraid of us now. Ryan had been a colonel during the war. He had seen things that most people never knew about, things that the government kept secret, things that had won the war but cost humanity something important. Before I open this box, I need you to understand something, Ryan said. What we did, it worked, but it changed us forever. He opened the box and took out the first file. The name on it said Operation Ghost Fleet. Captain Nina Rodriguez commanded this operation, Ryan said. It started in the 3rd year of the war. We were losing badly. The Xerians had better ships and more soldiers. We needed something new. Jake remembered Nina Rodriguez. She had been a good captain before the war, smart and brave. But something had changed in her eyes after she came back from her secret missions. What did she do? Lisa asked. Ryan opened the file and read from it. The Xerians expected us to fight like other species. When our ships were destroyed, they expected us to retreat or surrender. Nina had a different idea. He showed them pictures of human ships. They looked damaged and broken. Smoke came from their engines. Parts of their hulls were torn open. These ships were not really damaged, Ryan said. We made them look that way. Nina and her crews would fake their deaths in battle. The Xerians would think they had won and move on. Then what happened? Alex asked. Then Nina would wait. Sometimes for weeks. Sometimes for months. She would follow the Xerian fleets in secret, and when they least expected it, she would attack. Ryan showed them more pictures. Xerion ships floating dead in space. No lights, no movement, just empty hulls drifting in the dark. The first time it happened, the Xerians thought it was impossible. Dead ships do not come back to life. But it kept happening. Again and again. Jake looked at the pictures. How many times did Nina do this? 47 successful missions, Ryan said. Each time the Xerians lost more than ships. They lost their minds. They started to fear that any human ship might come back from the dead. Ryan put the first file away and took out another one. This one was thicker. The name on it said, The Human Doctrine. Dr. Sam Patterson wrote this, Ryan said. It became our new way of fighting. Sam studied how other species fought wars. They fought for land or resources or honor. We fought for something different. What was different about it? Lisa asked. Other species could lose a battle and still win a war. They could retreat and try again later. But humans could not do that. If we lost, our entire species would die. Sam turned that fear into a weapon. Ryan read from Sam's report. Humans fight like they have nothing to lose because they really have nothing to lose. This makes them more dangerous than any other species in the galaxy. The next file was labeled Operation Nightfall. Ryan's hands shook a little as he opened it. Major Ben Collins led this operation, Ryan said quietly. It was the darkest thing we did during the war. Ben Collins had been a good man before the war. He had a wife and 2 children. After Operation Nightfall, he never spoke to his family again. He could not look at his children without remembering what he had done. The Xerians started attacking our colonies with civilians, Ryan continued. They thought this would make us surrender. They were wrong. Ryan showed them a map of human colonies. Red marks covered many of them. Ben came up with a plan. When the Xerians attacked a colony, we would evacuate most of the people, but some would stay behind. They volunteered to stay. Why would they stay? Jake asked, but he was afraid he already knew the answer. To die, Ryan said simply, but not just to die. To take the Xerians with them. The room was very quiet. No one wanted to hear more, but they needed to know. We turned our own colonies into traps. The Xerians would land their soldiers and think they had won. Then the volunteers would activate bombs that destroyed the entire planet. Lisa put her hand over her mouth. We destroyed our own worlds? 17 colonies, Ryan said. 17 worlds where humans chose to die rather than let the Xerians win. Each time, we killed thousands of Xerian soldiers. Alex looked sick. What did this do to the Xerians? It broke their minds, Ryan said. They had never seen a species that would destroy their own homes to win a war. They started to fear every human colony, every human settlement. They never knew which ones were traps. Ryan took out the last file. It was thin, but the words on it were written in red ink. Operation Last Light. Lieutenant Commander Grace Hill wrote this report, Ryan said. It was about our final weapon, the one that ended the war. Grace Hill had been a communications officer. She was good with technology and understanding how different species thought. During the war, she discovered something terrible about the Xerians. Grace found out that the Xerians were connected to each other mentally, Ryan said. All 12 species in their alliance shared thoughts and feelings. What one felt, they all felt. How did we use this against them? Jake asked. Grace learned how to broadcast human emotions directly into their minds, Ryan said. She could make them feel what humans felt during the war. Ryan showed them Grace's final report. The words were hard to read because they described something almost impossible to believe. We made them feel what it was like to face extinction, Ryan said. We showed them what real desperation felt like, what it felt like to know that your entire species might die. And that ended the war? Lisa asked. It did more than end the war, Ryan said. It broke them completely. For the first time in their history, the Xerians experienced what humans live with every day. The knowledge that death is always close. The fear that everything you love might be gone tomorrow. Ryan closed the last file and put it back in the box. The Xerians surrendered not because we beat them in battle, he said. They surrendered because they could not handle thinking like humans. The fear was too much for them. Jake sat back in his chair. Now he understood why the aliens were afraid. Humans had not just won a war. They had shown the galaxy something new. They had shown them what it meant to fight when you had no choice but to win. We became monsters, Lisa said quietly. No, Ryan said. We became human. Real human. And that was more terrifying than any monster they could imagine. Admiral Chris Stone stood on the bridge of his ship and watched Earth burn. Zerion ships surrounded the planet like angry wasps. Their weapons lit up the sky with deadly fire. Cities were disappearing one by one. Millions of people were dying. This was the end. After 8 years of war, the Zerions had finally reached Earth. They had come with their biggest fleet ever. Thousands of ships filled the space around humanity's home world. Soon there would be no more humans left in the universe. Chris had been fighting this war since the beginning. He had seen humanity do terrible things to survive. Now he was about to do the most terrible thing of all. "Admiral, the President is calling," said Captain Amy Foster. She was young but had fought in many battles. Her face was dirty and tired. Everyone looked tired now. Chris answered the call. The President appeared, on his screen. Behind her, Chris could see smoke and fire. The government building was under attack too. "Chris, it is time," the President said. "You know what you have to do." Chris nodded. He had hoped this day would never come. But here it was, the last day of humanity. Or maybe the first day of something new. "Operation Last Light is ready," Chris said. 12 ships, 12 volunteers. "Make it count," the President said. Then the screen went black. The government building had been destroyed. Chris turned to his crew. These were the best humans he knew. They had all volunteered to die today. They knew they would never see their families again, but they also knew this was the only way. "Captain Foster, signal the other ships," Chris said. "Tell them it is time to begin." Amy sent the message to 11 other human ships. Each ship had 30 volunteers on board. Each ship carried a weapon that had never been used before. A weapon that Dr. Eric Kane had built in secret. Dr. Kane was not a soldier. Before the war, he had studied how minds worked, how thoughts and feelings moved between people. During the war, he had learned something horrible about the Zerions, something that could save humanity or destroy everything. "Admiral, Dr. Kane wants to speak with you," Amy said. Eric Kane appeared on the screen. He looked sick and scared. His hands were shaking. "Chris, are you sure about this?" Eric asked. "Once we use the weapon, there is no going back. It will change everything." "Eric, look outside," Chris said. "They are killing everyone. We have no choice." Eric nodded sadly. "The weapon is ready, but Chris, you need to understand what it will do. It will not just hurt the Zerions, it will hurt us too." "What do you mean?" "The weapon uses human emotions as power," Eric explained. "It takes all our pain and fear and anger and sends it into their minds. But to do that, we have to feel those emotions stronger than ever before." Chris understood. The weapon would work, but the humans using it would experience the worst feelings possible. They would feel every death in the war, every loss, every moment of terror, all at once. "The volunteers know this," Chris said. "They are ready." "I hope so," Eric said. "Because once it starts, they will feel what it really means to face extinction. Not just know it, but feel it in their souls." Chris looked at his crew. Amy Foster was checking the weapon systems. Commander Paul Wright was preparing the ship's engines. Lieutenant Julia Martinez was saying goodbye to her family in a picture she carried. "This is Admiral Stone to all Last Light ships," Chris said into his microphone. "We are about to do something that no species has ever done before. We are going to make the enemy feel what we feel, make them understand what it means to be human." The 12 ships moved toward the center of the Zerion fleet. They were small compared to the alien ships. The Zerions barely noticed them. They thought these were just more human ships coming to die. They were wrong. "Beginning weapon charge," Amy reported. "All ships are ready." Chris could feel something changing in his mind. The weapon was starting to work. It was pulling emotions from every human on every ship. Fear, anger, sadness, hope, love, hate. All mixed together into something powerful and terrible. "I can feel it," Paul Wright said. His voice was strange now. "I can feel everyone who died, everyone we lost." The weapon was designed to take these human emotions and broadcast them directly into Zerion minds. The aliens would experience what it felt like to be human, what it felt like to know that death was always close, what it felt like to love something so much that you would die to protect it. Weapon charged, Amy said. Her eyes were full of tears now. All ships report ready. Chris looked at Earth one last time. It was still burning, but maybe not for much longer. Maybe his planet would survive. Maybe his people would have a future. Fire, he said. The weapon activated. 12 ships sent a wave of pure human emotion toward the Xerion fleet. Not thoughts or words, but feelings. Raw, powerful feelings that had been building up in humanity for 8 years of war. The effect was immediate. Xerion ships stopped firing. They began to drift without direction. Inside those ships, alien minds were experiencing something they had never felt before. They felt what it was like to watch your children die. They felt what it was like to lose your home. They felt what it was like to know that your entire species might disappear forever. They felt the desperate love that makes parents sacrifice everything for their children. But most of all, they felt what it was like to refuse to give up, even when everything was lost, even when death was certain, even when surrender would be easier. My God, Julia Martinez whispered. Look at them. The Xerion fleet was breaking apart, not from damage but from fear. Ships were turning around and running away. Others had stopped moving completely. Some were sending surrender signals. Admiral, we are getting messages from all over the galaxy, Amy reported. Xerion ships everywhere are surrendering, not just here, everywhere. Chris could barely stand. The weapon had worked, but it had cost him everything. He could feel every human death during the war, every moment of pain, every tear, every scream. It was all inside his head now. The war is over, Paul Wright said. He was crying now. They were all crying. But Chris knew the truth. The war was over, but something new had begun. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were really capable of. They had forced an entire species to experience human emotions, and those emotions had been too much for them to bear. What have we done? Julia asked. Chris looked at Earth. The fires were going out. The Xerion ships were leaving. Humanity had survived, but they had paid a price that would last forever. We became what we needed to become, Chris said, and now the galaxy will never forget what that means. Ambassador Karen Lewis put on her best uniform and walked into the meeting room. 2 years had passed since the war ended. Today was supposed to be the day when humans rejoined the galactic community. She had spent months preparing for this moment. Pshepker. Room was empty. Karen checked her watch. The meeting was supposed to start 10 minutes ago. Representatives from 40 different alien species had promised to attend. They were going to discuss trade agreements and peace treaties. They were going to welcome humanity back to the galaxy. But no one came. Her assistant walked in carrying a tablet. Ambassador, we have received messages from all the alien delegations. They have all canceled. Karen took the tablet and read the messages. Each one said the same thing in different words. We are sorry, but we cannot attend the meeting. Please understand that this is not personal. But Karen knew it was personal, very personal. Commander Tyler Brooks sat in his office on the border station between human and alien space. His job was to manage the ships that wanted to cross into human territory. It should have been a busy job. The galaxy was full of traders, and diplomats and travelers who needed to pass through human space to reach other worlds. But Tyler's office was quiet. It had been quiet for 2 years. Sir, we have another request, said Lieutenant Mike Johnson. He looked bored. An alien cargo ship wants to pass through our space. They say it will save them 3 weeks of travel time. Tyler looked at the request, form on his screen. It was from a Zelkan trader. The Zelkans were peaceful people who had never fought in the war. They had no reason to fear humans. What cargo are they carrying? Tyler asked. Food supplies for a colony world. Mike replied. Nothing dangerous. Tyler approved the request and sent it to the alien ship. 10 minutes later, he got a reply. Thank you for approving our request. However, we have decided to take the longer route instead. We do not wish to enter human space at this time. Tyler shook his head. This happened every day. Aliens would ask for permission to enter human space. Tyler would give permission. Then they would change their minds and take longer routes around human territory. Lieutenant, how many ships have actually entered our space this month? Tyler asked. Mike checked his records. 0, sir. Just like last month. Dr. Helen Murphy worked in a small laboratory on Earth. She studied alien behavior and psychology. Before the war, her job had been to help humans understand their galactic neighbors. Now her job was different. Now she tried to understand why those neighbors were afraid of humans. Helen had collected thousands of alien communications, messages between alien traders, diplomats, and regular citizens. She had studied them for patterns and meanings. What she found was disturbing. The fear is getting worse, Helen told her research team. 2 years ago, aliens avoided human space but still talked about humans normally. Now they will not even say our name out loud. Her assistant, Dr. Mark Taylor, showed her a new message they had intercepted. It was from an alien mother to her child. If you are not good, the humans will come for you in your sleep. They never forget and they never forgive. This is not true, Helen said. Humans are not hunting aliens. We are not threatening anyone. Why do they think this? Mark pulled up more messages on his computer. Look at these. Alien parents are using humans as scary stories to make their children behave. Alien soldiers are having nightmares about fighting humans. Some aliens are even changing their religion because of us. Helen read the messages. One alien had written, "The humans showed us that death is not the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing is becoming like them." Another message said, "My grandfather fought in the human war. He never spoke about it. But sometimes at night he would scream in his sleep. He would scream human words that he had learned during the fighting." Mark, find me information about alien military training, Helen said. I want to know how they are preparing for future wars. Mark searched through their database. What he found made Helen feel sick. Several alien species have changed their military training, Mark reported. They are trying to teach their soldiers to think like humans, to fight like humans. Show me. Mark displayed training documents from different alien militaries. Helen read them with growing horror. Train your soldiers to accept death as a friend, not an enemy, one document said. Humans do not fear death. They use it as a tool. Another document said, human soldiers fight like they have nothing to lose because they believe they have nothing to lose. Our soldiers must learn this mindset. They are trying to become more like us, Helen said quietly. They think that is the only way to survive if they ever have to fight humans again. General Matt Turner read the intelligence reports in his secure office. He had been a colonel during the war. Now he was responsible for understanding what other species were doing. What he learned kept him awake at night. The Xerians have not left their homeworlds in 2 years, his intelligence officer reported. They refuse to send ships anywhere near human space. Some of their colonies are running out of supplies because they will not travel through areas where humans might be. What about the other species? Matt asked. They are forming new alliances, military alliances. They say it is for protection against future threats. But we know they mean protection against us. Matt looked at a map of the galaxy. Red lines showed new military partnerships between alien species. Yellow areas showed space that aliens now avoided because it was too close to human territory. Green dots showed alien military bases that were being built far away from human space. They are afraid we will attack them, Matt said. Yes, sir. They think the war changed us permanently. They think we are now a species that enjoys killing. Do they have a reason to think that? The intelligence officer was quiet for a moment. Sir, during the war we did things that no other species had ever done. We used our own emotions as weapons. We destroyed our own colonies to kill enemies. We fought like death was just another enemy to defeat. Matt nodded. He remembered those days. He remembered making choices that still haunted him. The problem is not that they think we are monsters, the intelligence officer continued. The problem is that they think we are monsters who are very good at being monsters. Dr. Sophie Clark worked at the University of Earth. She studied how species evolved and changed over time. Her latest research was about something that had never happened before in galactic history. The war with humans is causing other species to evolve, Sophie told a meeting of scientists. Not physically, but mentally. They are developing new ways of thinking because of us. What do you mean? Asked Dr. Robert Kim. Sophie showed them brain scans from different alien species. These scans were taken before and after the war. Look at the differences. The scans showed that alien brains were changing. Areas that controlled fear and aggression were growing larger. Areas that controlled peaceful cooperation were getting smaller. The galaxy is becoming more like us, Sophie said. Not because they want to, but because they think they have to. They believe that peaceful species cannot survive in a universe where humans exist. Dr. Kim looked worried. Are you saying that our war is changing the entire galaxy? That is exactly what I am saying, Sophie replied. Before the war, most alien species solved problems through negotiation and compromise. Now they are learning to solve problems through force and intimidation. They are becoming more human-like because they think that is the only way to survive. Karen Lewis sat alone in her office and read the reports from around the galaxy. No, aliens wanted to meet with humans. No aliens wanted to trade with humans. No aliens even wanted to be in the same part of space as humans. Humanity had won the war. They had saved their species from extinction. But the cost was higher than anyone had imagined. The galaxy was afraid of them, not just afraid of their weapons or their ships, afraid of what humans represented, afraid of what it meant to fight like humans fought, afraid of what it meant to think like humans thought. Karen looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere, out there, billions of aliens were living their lives in fear. Fear of a species that had shown them something new and terrible. Fear of a species that had proven that survival could be more important than morality. The war was over, but its effects would last forever. Humanity was alone in the galaxy now, alone because no one else wanted to be near them. Karen wondered if winning had been worth it. Captain Joe Adams floated in his command chair and watched the screen that showed all the space around human territory. 5 years had passed since the war ended. His job was to track alien ships and see where they went. The job was easy because the aliens always did the same thing. They stayed far away from humans. "Captain, we have movement in Sector 7, said Lieutenant Jenny Parker. She was young and had joined the Space Force after the war. She had never seen an alien ship up close. Joe looked at the screen. A group of alien cargo ships was traveling from one side of the galaxy to the other. The normal route would take them through human space. It would save them weeks of travel time and lots of fuel. But the ships were taking the long way around. They would travel twice as far to avoid getting anywhere near human territory. How far out of their way are they going? Joe asked. Jenny checked. The computer. About 50 light years, sir. They are adding 3 weeks to their journey. 3 weeks of extra travel just to avoid us, Joe said quietly. Mark it in the log. This happened every day. Alien ships would see human space on their maps and change course. Some would turn around completely and go home rather than risk getting close to humans. Dr. Laura Thompson walked into the meeting room where the Human Council was gathered. She carried a thick folder full of research papers. Laura had spent 5 years studying what the war had done to the galaxy. Today she would present her final report. Council members, Laura began, I have completed my study of galactic society after the war. What I found will change how we think about our place in the universe. The council members looked interested but worried. They knew that Laura's research would not contain good news. The galaxy has developed what I can only call collective trauma about humanity, Laura continued. This goes beyond simple fear. It is a deep psychological wound that affects every alien species. Council member David Chen raised his hand. What do you mean by collective trauma? Laura opened her folder and pulled out several documents. I mean that the entire galaxy has been psychologically damaged by their contact with humans. They have developed new fears, new behaviors, and new ways of thinking, all because of us. She showed them pictures of alien children's drawings. The drawings showed monsters with human faces. They showed dark creatures that looked like people but with scary teeth and claws. Alien children who were not even born during the war are having nightmares about humans, Laura said. Their parents tell them stories about the scary humans who live in the dark parts of space. Another council member, Maria Santos, looked at the drawings. These children have never seen a human. Why are they afraid of us? Because fear of humans has become part of their culture, Laura explained. Parents teach their children to be afraid of humans. Teachers tell stories about human cruelty. Religious leaders say that humans are punishment for alien sins. Laura showed them more evidence. Alien books, movies, and songs all contained references to humans as monsters. In some alien languages, the word for human had become the same as the word for nightmare. The name human has changed meaning in Galactic Common Language, Laura said. It no longer means a species from Earth. It means something that fights without honor, kills without mercy, and never gives up no matter what. Ambassador Rachel Martinez sat in her office and prepared for the first Galactic Assembly meeting since the war. She would attend by video link from Earth. No alien wanted her to come in person. The meeting began with representatives from dozens of alien species. Rachel could see them on her screen, but they could not see each other in person either. The war had changed how aliens felt about meeting face to face. Today we will discuss the human question, said the Galactic Assembly President, an alien called Vorka. We must decide what to do about the humans. Rachel listened as alien after alien spoke about humanity. None of them said anything good. The humans have shown us that peaceful species cannot survive, said one alien representative. We must become more like them or risk being destroyed. Another alien said, My species has been peaceful for 10,000 years. But since the human war, we have started building weapons. We have no choice. A third alien spoke with a shaking voice. The humans proved that any species will become monsters if they are desperate enough. This knowledge has poisoned our children's minds. They no longer believe in peace. Rachel wanted to defend humanity, but she knew the aliens were not completely wrong. Humans had done terrible things during the war, things that had saved their species but damaged their souls. I propose that we declare humanity a protected species, said Vorka. Not to protect them, but to protect ourselves from them. What does that mean? Asked another alien. It means we keep them isolated, Vorka explained. We do not trade with them. We do not talk to them. We do not go near their space. We treat them like a dangerous disease that must be contained. The vote was unanimous. Every alien species agreed to keep humans isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Rachel turned off her video link and sat alone in her office. Humanity was officially quarantined from galactic society. Not as punishment, but as protection for everyone else. Colonel Steve Harrison stood in front of a classroom full of young human soldiers. These men and women had been children during the war. They were the first generation to grow up knowing that humanity was feared throughout the galaxy. Today I will teach you the most important lesson of the war, Steve said. It is not about tactics or weapons. It is about what we became and what that means for our future. A young cadet raised her hand. Sir, did we really do all the things the aliens say we did? Steve looked at her carefully. She was maybe 20 years old. She'd grown up hearing stories about the war but had never experienced it herself. Yes, Steve said simply. We did things that no other species had ever done. We fought in ways that scared our enemies so much that they still have nightmares about us. Another cadet asked, Were we wrong to fight that way? Steve thought about this question for a long time. He had asked himself the same question every day for 5 years. We were faced with extinction, Steve said finally. Complete extinction. Not just defeat, but the death of every human in the universe. When faced with that choice, we discovered what we were truly capable of. But sir, the aliens think we are monsters now. Yes, they do, and maybe they are right. But we are alive monsters. Our species survived because we were willing to become something that scared the galaxy. A third cadet looked confused. Sir, are you saying we should be proud of what we did? Steve, walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of aliens lived in fear of humanity. Ships changed course to avoid human space. Children had nightmares about human monsters. Entire species had changed their ways of life because of what humans had done. I am saying that we made a choice, Steve said. We chose survival over everything else. We chose to live rather than die with honor. We chose to become whatever we needed to become to save our species. He turned back to face the cadets. The question you must ask yourselves is this: was that choice worth it? The classroom was quiet. The young soldiers thought about what they had learned. They thought about the price their species had paid for survival. "Sir," one cadet said quietly, "will the galaxy ever forgive us?" Steve looked at the young man and saw hope in his eyes. Hope that maybe someday humans could rejoin galactic society. Hope that maybe the fear would fade and aliens would remember that humans could be good as well as terrible. "I do not know," Steve said honestly. "But I do know this. We showed them something they had never seen before. We showed them what a species looks like when it refuses to die quietly." He walked back to the front of the classroom. "The aliens call us monsters because we fought like our children's lives depended on it, because we treated extinction like just another enemy to defeat, because we discovered that there is no limit to what humans will do to protect what they love." "And that scares them?" asked a cadet. "That terrifies them," Steve replied, "because now they know that in the right circumstances, any species might become what we became. And they are not sure they could survive that kind of war." The class ended and the cadets left to think about what they had learned. Steve remained in the classroom looking out at the stars. Humanity had won the war and saved their species, but they had also become something that the galaxy could not accept. They were alone now, isolated by their own success. The price of survival had been higher than anyone imagined. Humanity lived, but they lived as outcasts in a galaxy that would never forget what they were capable of becoming. Steve wondered if his people would ever find their way back to being the species they had been before the war, or if this was who they were now, the species that scared the galaxy into changing itself. Outside the window, the stars looked cold and distant. Each one represented worlds where aliens lived in fear of the name human. Each one was a reminder of what humanity had become to survive. The war was over, but its legacy would last forever.